Hi, today I'm going to be doing some fall DIYs. I made four small fall signs to add to my decor. Hi, I'm Vicki. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do some small fall signs, as I mentioned. I just started thinking about what kind of cool little fall, everybody loves the little fall signs, and I started doodling and came up with four ideas that I think are pretty cute. So let's get to it. So the first thing I did was I found some pieces of wood. My husband's been saving all of his leftovers from different projects he's been working on. So we have a nice stash of little pieces, big pieces, long pieces, skinny. So I picked a few shapes that I thought would be good. A couple longer ones, a couple shorter ones, and then I just sanded them. They were pretty, they were pretty rough. Obviously, they'd been sitting in the scrap pile, so I just sanded them with the two different grits of sandpaper until they were not super smooth, but smooth enough that if you run your hands over them, you couldn't really feel any edges or sharp edges or get any splinters. Now I'm going to paint them, so they didn't have to be super perfect, but I still wanted them fairly smooth. So the first thing I did was my favorite paint, honestly, this metallic Rust-Oleum. It was a little expensive. I got it at Lowe's, but I try to buy it when it's on sale, or I know some of the colors sometimes I've seen them discontinued or whatever, but I love it, and a little bit of it goes a long way. So I started off with this copper color and just painted for my first sign, just painted it all the way around, not the back. Was not concerned about the back. And then after I got a nice coat on there, I just did one coat. And then I smoothed it over with the brush to give it so they didn't have too many brush marks. So after that, I moved on to the second sign. And for that, I wanted a dark red. One of the things I really liked, this set of fall colored ornaments that I got at a yard sale, two big bins of them. One of my favorite colors really were the dark red ones, and I thought that would be a nice background for one of these signs. So I used the apple barrel barn red, as you saw, and again just gave it one coat and smoothed it all after I was done with the painting. And that's it for that sign for the painting. So the next sign I wanted to be sort of well, I couldn't really decide, but I started off with this yellow ochre color and thought, well, if I mix some gold into it and maybe a little bit of red, I think I might get sort of a sparkly dark gold color. So I just added a little bit, and this is the gold of the metallic. So I just took a little bit off the lid. I didn't need very much to make it fairly sparkly. The gold I like the silver and the copper best. Those are my kind of colors, but the gold does a nice job of just giving you that nice gold shimmer. And then when I added the red in, just to make it a little darker, like I said, to get the nice dark gold, so that seemed a little light. And I just added it until I felt like it looked like what I wanted. So just a little bit more, stirred it up really nicely. And then I really liked the way this looked. Like I said, a slightly red gold, very shimmery, and just started painting. Same technique as before, but I really like the way this red gold looked. Like, all in all, I love the way these different colors look. Just very like a maple tree. That's kind of, I guess, my goal with fall decorating is that's my inspiration, the maple tree. I love the different colors that a maple tree will get, the oranges and yellows and reds and browns. I mean, everything comes together in a that's my favorite sort of color range for fall. So the next thing I did was brown. So I just took my brown. Well, I get this color was called chocolate, and so far these paints are pretty new. This type of acrylic paint, and I like the way they're working so far. They came in 18 colors in a set from Amazon, so it was pretty nice. And you see, I just mixed the brown into that red gold paint so that I got a little bit of a shimmer with this as well. So I think that's a pretty nice brown, especially to go with the other colors. One nice thing about mixing the paints together from one to the next is that it really ties it all in together and makes them match a little more than they would have. So you kind of know they're going to match and they're going to coordinate because they're part of each other. So again, I just gave these pieces of wood one coat of the color, and then I let them dry for a little bit. So the next thing I wanted to do, once that had dried a bit, was add a little bit of brown, sort of just distressing, I guess, to the first copper color that I painted, just to make it a little more fall looking. I like the way the copper looks, but then I really like this ragging on. It's kind of like a bride brush technique, but I think it's easier to control with the rag. So gave that just a little bit of dimension and depth. So the next thing I wanted to do was add onto the brown piece a little bit of copper. So this one, my plan was to take some of the small ornaments and hot glue them on, and I thought adding a little copper in between where the ornaments will sit would look pretty would look pretty. So I said, this is really one of my favorite paint colors, so anytime I can add a little extra copper. So I just free-handed these lines because they're not the main emphasis of this piece. I mean, the main thing is going to be the ornament. So I just dabbed it on and tried to make it look slightly like I made stripes. So the next bit of painting I did was I took the seed pods. They came from a potpourri that I bought that looked like pumpkins, and they're just gorgeous little pumpkin things. I bought that on Amazon also, just a whole bag of little mini pumpkins. But I gave them some copper color too, because I thought that this sign should be very coppery. So I decided to do 4 of the little pumpkins that I'll be able to add to the sign. So the next thing I did for this copper sign was I took some colored wired ribbon, and I wanted to make a bow to put on the bottom of it. So I just cut a piece, and then I sort of folded it in and folded it in again to make a double-sided, a 2-looped bow on each side. So bow making is something that I'm really just sort of learning myself. I haven't made a lot of bows, but this one looked pretty. I wanted a fairly simple bow, so I thought I would be able to just wing it here. And then I took a small piece of ribbon and wrapped it around the middle to make the middle part, and just fluffed it up a little bit. And so later when I'm hot gluing, I will hot glue that down. So after I got the shape that I wanted, I got the hot glue gun ready, because it always takes longer than I think it's going to take, so I try to do it I'm starting to get used to how long it takes, but then I wanted to get the ribbon for this next wooden sign. And I have this thin peach colored ribbon that I decided to try for the dark red sign. So I just cut off 2 pieces, and I played with it a little to see if I wanted to go. I was thinking diagonally to make it look like a package, but I tried a couple things to see how they looked. But I ended up with the diagonal I thought looked the nicest. So once I got that set, I took my next thing and decided how I was where I wanted to put this ornament on this longer piece. Because my plan is to write the word fall going down and then have the ornament. So I also got set with the ornaments I wanted to put on the brown longer piece that's going to go sideways. So I took 3 of the 3 little ornaments and, obviously played around, decided where I wanted, how they looked best, at least how I thought they looked the best. And then I wanted to also add some of the little pumpkins to this piece as well. Not the painted ones I did before, just some plain ones. And then a seed pod for the red sign. So on the red sign, I wanted to paint the word fall in sort of a block letter. So I used the gold metallic paint again to paint this. I thought about making a stencil for the writing I wanted to do for these. I have a silhouette, and I thought about cutting them out, but then I thought, I do kind of sometimes like a handwritten looking lettering, so I decided to try this, and I thought, well, if it goes poorly, then I'll just flip the sign over and paint the back instead. I also decided to add just a little bit of gold, not a thick layer, just a very thin layer of the gold onto this ornament that's going to go onto the tall sign. And then I wanted to put a little piece of this brown paper wrapping with the word fall onto the copper sign. My first attempt, I painted it in copper color, but then I tried to glue it on before it was dry, so I had to do it again. And then I thought, we got these watercolor markers, and we haven't used them for anything, and I thought I'm going to try it out, see how they look. The nice thing is you can write with them just like you would with a calligraphy pen, and it turned out pretty nice, I think. So first I tried the peach color, and you could see it, but it wasn't quite dark enough. So then I got a little bit darker brown color and went over the peach, and I think that two-tone looked pretty nice. But I thought that brown paper would be a really interesting addition to my sign. It makes it look a little rustic, but not very much, which is kind of my style. And then I can just glue it on. And it looked like I spent a lot of time getting it perfect, but it turns out all you need to do is rip the edges. So first I tried to cut it, and I thought, well, maybe I'll sand it. And no, I just ripped it, and I think it looks perfect. So then I started to hot glue. I was ready to hot glue things. I put the ribbon on the bottom of the sign, and then I started adding my little pumpkins. I also have a small pine cone that I wanted to add to this sign. And I think this one turned out really nice. It's so cute. It's so fall. And it's all kind of copper colored without being all the same color copper. I think it turned out really great. So the next thing I did was add the peach ribbon to this red sign. So first I just used a glue stick to glue that down. And then I wanted to hot glue it onto the back, but I didn't want the big clumps of hot glue on the front. So like I said, I used the glue stick. I also used the glue stick to glue the little brown paper sign onto the previous sign. I thought that would work better and give it a smoother edge. So I just did that with both pieces of ribbon. Like I said, I wanted to make a little bit of a package looking look to it. So glued that around, got glue all over my fingers as usual, but I think it's going to stick pretty well. So cut off a little bit of the extra so they wouldn't flop around. Then I moved on to the next sign and let that dry and just glued these ornaments and the little pumpkins on. So this sign was this sign was very simple to do, but I think that it turned out pretty neat. I really like this look of the ornaments, especially they give a lot of sparkle to the decorations. So then I wanted to be careful to make sure that they were dry before I moved, the glue was dry a little bit before I moved it. And then the last thing, well, not the last thing, but the last sign, I glued this ornament onto the bottom of it. And then I took another of the little seed pods and glued it to this red sign. And that was it for that red sign. But the very last thing I wanted to do was put the word fall onto this tall sign. So I got another of these watercolor pens, tested it out on my paper to see what it looked like, and also to see what my calligraphy was going to look like. So then I did a more flowing script for this one. Again, just hand wrote it, went over it twice because they are watercolor markers, so they're a little light. But I think it turned out pretty nice. It gave the effect that I wanted. I like the brown on top of this gold color. And then the gold and brown ornament sort of brings those both together. So again, a very simple sign, but I think it's very pretty.